Phoenix Rising by Michael Anastas. Back at Sierra Mana, Freeman, Dragon, and the fourth trainer, an Argentinian man named Cristobal Perrin, did the exact same thing. Two Pidgeots and a Fearow took off from the roof of Sierra Mana and skyrocketed towards the falling plane. As strange as it seemed, this was a situation they had been prepared to handle in the Phoenix School. Since it was impossible to evacuate the entire plane, the plan was to keep the plane belly up as it landed. It might sound like a stupid thing to do, but it works in the majority of the time. Nikki took out her chain cord, one of the many things she never left the house without, and hastily tossed it over the side. Then, in an acrobatic feat, she rolled over the other side, and at the same time, Pidgeot turned the opposite way. The result was a Pidgeot flying upside down with a teenage girl clinging to his breast feathers. In that position, she tied it into a harness. Pidgeot turned back upright, and Nikki went sailing overboard, clinging to the other end of the chain. She landed with a dull thump on the dead wing, sprang to her feet, and climbed towards the smoking engine. Once there, she swung her legs over, climbed down to the now motionless engine, and tied the other end tightly around it. Having completed the link, she called out all of her flying Pokemon, a Fearow, Golbat, and Halberdier. Together, they pulled madly at the chain. Freeman, Dragon, and Cristobal both completed the same procedures at the right wing, cockpit, and tail end of the plane. Once on the backs of their original Pokemon, they began the massive game of tug-of-war. Cristobal's group at the cockpit eventually managed to gain strength over the others and pulled the plane's position upright. Having already cleared the runway, they carried the plane over the parking lots into what they thought would be open plains. What they saw was the forest. "Shit!" Freeman shouted. "This is the worst possible!" And then the tops of trees flew about in front of them. Branches snapped and Pidgeys took to the sky, until in a sudden miracle, the plane landed, supported up by huge pine trees underneath it. While the plane was being evacuated, Nikki flew back to the place where she had left Lavian to watch over Giovanni. To her disappointment, Giovanni was gone, but Lavian still had a prisoner in his possession. "I don't know anything!" shouted Meowth, as Lavian carried him over by his tail. "Come on! We're both felines! When you think about it, we're brothers! Can't you let me—" Lavian dropped Meowth to the ground before Nikki. "Oh!" Nikki smiled. "Well done, Lavian." She reached into her pocket and took out a standard-issue Pokeball. "Oh no! No way in hell am I—" Lavian tossed Meowth into the air, and Nikki threw the Pokeball, striking Meowth in the face. The ball opened, and he dematerialized into it. She caught the ball, strapped it to her belt, and smiled as Lavian nuzzled up against her. Lavian. This time, Nikki successfully translated to, "You did well up there." Nikki gently stroked Lavian's back, and he returned the favor with a lick on each cheek. Cristobal stumbled up towards them, out of breath. "Forgive me for interrupting your tender moment," he said breathlessly, "but you need to know something. There were 110 passengers on the flight we just grounded, and out of all of them, only one sustained major injuries." Nikki's heart skipped a beat. "Just one? Do I already know which one it was?" Cristobal nodded. "Michael Anastas sustained a concussion and some nasty-looking scars on the way down. What puzzles me is that some of them could already be infected. He'll be all right, but for that to happen, it would mean he earned them long before the plane's engine trouble." Nikki's heart skipped another beat. "Where was he at the time?" "The bathroom. There was no seatbelt, so that's how he got the scars and concussion, from bouncing around in the plane. Still, though, they gave a warning 5 minutes before the plane landed. Even a complete idiot would know to get back to his seat, and for him to be a Phoenix trainer, he can't be anything less than of normal intelligence." The other plane arrived later at sundown, and met no problems. At 10 o'clock that night, all of the Phoenix trainers, minus Anastas, got together at Sierra Mana. There, Ash told the others what had happened, from the battle with Mew3 to his resurrection, to the very minute they waited on. "Quite a story," said Dragon. "But it doesn't make sense. What are the wraiths after anyway?" Merlin shrugged. "They're ghost Pokemon. It's a well-known fact that they all have hidden agendas. So far, we know that they have a temple, followers, and seem to enjoy toying with others. Everyone that we've met who works for them made a wish for something, and in one way or another, they got what they wanted. Hell, I'm just as confused as the rest of you. The only one who might be able to make sense out of everything is Michael, and he's not exactly in the best position to talk right now. Nikki leaned forward. Michael will probably pull through this, but I think there are bigger things to worry about than him. The wraith struck just a few hours after your successful mission, and I wouldn't be surprised if they caused the plane to crash as well. Cristobal nodded in agreement. Some of Michael's wounds were infected. It's possible that he obtained them midway through the flight. Good point, said Andrew. But even so, what's to keep them from striking again? I don't think any of us have a clue, said Merlin. All I know is that there are two things we must do. First, we need to know exactly what happened with Michael. That's the only thing we don't know, and for him to cross an ocean, it would have to be something big. The other, more obvious task is to locate the wraiths and obliterate them. Easier said than done, said Darius. It's a miracle that you survived a battle against one. Just one wraith nearly took your life. We don't know how many of these things there are. How are we supposed to fight them? I don't know, said Merlin. We can only keep training, I suppose. For God's sake, shouted Freeman. You're Merlin, the Magi Durai. How can you get any stronger than... I'm not the Magi, shouted Merlin. I'm just a man. There was a short period of silence. I'm just a man, Merlin continued. All I am is a human being who started his journey a few years earlier. Any one of you could have come as far as I have, and I think some of you might already be beyond me. Sure, I can run fast, jump high, and make that fancy light show with my sword, but I'm still just a man, and any one of you could do that as well. And back to the subject, Cassie said abruptly. The wraiths are a threat, and we need whatever knowledge Michael has gained. But I'll ask again, what's to keep them from attacking us again? Merlin was silent. Not much, said Ash. I don't know, really. They never really chose strategic times to attack. It's like they were following us through the entire journey, waiting for us to let our guards down. Great, muttered Brock. So they could be watching us right now. They could be watching our every move, and we have no clue as to where they are. Andrew put his hand to his chin. I see you've just contradicted yourself. Huh? They could be watching us, and we don't know where they are, repeated Andrew. Well, if they're watching our every moves, wouldn't they have to be right here with us? Ash raised an eyebrow. Even I'm not dumb enough to follow my enemy around. They're ghost Pokemon, said Misty. Maybe they have some sort of teleporting technique. Gary said he'd do things in the name of Gehenna, said Freeman. Maybe they live in the afterlife. They could be. I doubt they're followers of Satan, said Cassie. And don't tell me you weren't going to say that. No, Freeman's onto something, said Nikki. They are evil after all. That seems fairly obvious. Hey, Merlin, said Darius. What do you think? Merlin was silent for a minute. Well, you're the master here. Merlin shot out of his seat. I don't know! I don't know what they are! All I know is that they're trying to kill us! That's all I know! I don't have any theories! But I'm just a man! For God's sake! I'm just a man! He walked through the door behind him and limped towards the elevator, head down in shame. Nurse Joy rolled Michael's stretcher into his room and left in haste. She didn't know anything about treating humans anyway, so there was little she could do other than what she had done. She was the last person to see him that night. Then, at midnight, I came in through his window, still in my cursed human form, and smiled when I saw him, sound asleep. I hadn't been possessed, but something lingered in my mind, telling me I was doing the right thing, that the raceway was the right way. It was overwhelming, and I was still too weak to resist it. "Oh, my sweet Michael," I said as I stepped up to his bed. "Look at you, a white Viplash you have become. And why? Because you could never accept that you and I are destined to be together." I placed my hand over his forehead. "I can heal you, but in return, you must come with me and complete the Wraith's holy mission. This will feel strange at first, but you will adapt to it, and soon you will learn to love it." That should have been the end of it. The Wraiths should have had a Phoenix trainer as one of their minions. But something happened, something no man on Earth could have ever explained. Just when Michael was beginning to intake whatever it was I had unknowingly given him, the room seemed to grow brighter. My first thought was that a searchlight had been shined through the window. I backed away from the bed and ducked down under the window. The light didn't pass over like I thought it would. It grew brighter, and then Michael sat up from the bed. You couldn't have done that!" I blurted out, the evil in me in even greater shock. Michael's entire cast of bandages fell to the floor, and he stood there, perfectly intact, wearing sneakers, blue jeans, a white t-shirt, and his black leather jacket with the orange phoenix on the back. His eyes slowly opened, and to my absolute horror, they were glowing the color of the purest gold. "What the?" I stumbled to my feet, turned around to run, and found myself cornered at the wall. "No!" I shouted. "By all the gods! What are you?"
"You shall never have one of my children!"
he shouted in a voice that echoed through my brain.
"This has gone far enough, and I have come to put an end to your evil ways. Tell your masters exactly what I have told you. You have gone too far, and now the time has come. The time has come at last!"
He raised his hands in the air.
"The time has come for Phoenix Rising!"
The room was filled with gold light, and when the welcoming darkness came back, Michael Anastas was gone.